This call is now being recorded.
Yep, now
okay.
it's being recorded. There was someone who just don't want it, and they were just putting some interest there. Okay. Anyways, starting off. Hello everyone. I hope you have a good day and like you're just feeling excited as I am. Even in this cold weather, you are feeling up excited. Let me just share the screen. I guess like um, oops. Yep. Now it's sharing. Hello. And as I say in my style, namaskar, sat shri akal, and let's just begin on to like the study chat. I'm I'm Gaurav, and like along with me are a few co-hosts. Kafil, I guess Naman is not here, and Arpan is also not there, and also a trainer. Yeah. So also we have a trainer with us, Kashyap, who is from Hyderabad, and like let me just introduce him like first before like just not doing that formal kind of an introduction there. But yeah, here we are together for just one thing that we have in our agenda, that is like the store listing app. Whenever you just go to a store and just putting your app on the store, you just feel like there are a few points that you are missing up, and like what all are the things that you can just improve here. So we're talking about description and a preview assets. So mainly these will be like covered up. So moving on, uh, let me just introduce you, Kashyap. He's a CEO and co-founder of HitWicket, and also like a numerous award winners. One is like the PM's app innovation challenge that he has done, and also a lot of things. And I know like he's from Triple IT Hyderabad, if I'm not wrong, Kashyap, right?
Yeah, I'm from VIT, Vellore.
Oh, sorry, like VIT Velar. I just got confused. Sorry. I guess over to you. I can just say like that's me. I'm Gaurav, coordinator of GTG New Delhi and the software engineer at Disco. That's a show to introduction for me. Uh, Over to you, Kashyap. I can just stop sharing my screen and then you can just start off.
Got it. You can see, you all can see my screen, right?
Uh, right now it's not visible. Can you do it again?
Yeah.
It might have just got into that.
Yeah.
Till that time, you are sharing the screen. There is one question that is like someone is asking for a unique code. Say, Kuber, like that is a common feature. Like you don't have to worry about it. And also Harshit, it's okay. Like you have a flaky internet. Don't worry about it. Your attendance is being marked automatically. That's an inbuilt feature by Google Meet that we are just using up. So don't worry about it. Yep, Kashyap, over to you.
Slides visible now?
Yep, it's visible there.
Okay, perfect. First up, thanks a lot everyone for coming today. And it's great to see everyone and great to be contributing to the community that has actually given us so much. 10, 15 years back, the app stores, when they didn't even exist, the entire definition of startups itself was unheard of, right? Just imagine that 15 years back when there were actually no apps, there were no smartphones, no apps, you begin to wonder how people used to live. Right? Almost everything that we do right now, be it Flipkart, Amazon, or Swiggy, or whatever it is going about in our daily lives, they're all on apps, they're all on your phone. And you wonder how things actually used to run before that. That's the kind of impact that apps have actually made. And I think the App Store, Play Store, and all have been phenomenal enablers of entire ecosystems. And we as developers and founders are the ones who are building onto this ecosystem so that we are able to get more visibility and reach more users. So this presentation will be about how you guys can get more out of the Play Store and make sure your wonderful apps can reach a much wider audience. I'm Kashyap, I'm CEO, co-founder of HitWicket. HitWicket is a unique cricket-based strategy game and which has more than 2 million users from across 70 countries. I'm a graduate of VIT Vellore. I got into game design when I was like 10 years old, where every page in my book used to be, my school book used to be a different game. So my passion for web design and for game design started really early. And that's kind of always motivated me to do something in gaming. But after graduating from VIT, I moved to Sweden. I was working there as a web designer for a while. And then I realized that all the action is happening in India, right? With particularly with the IPL, with all the startup scenes and all that's going on. So I thought, okay, let's come back and let's start something of my own. And that's where HitWicket was brought to life. And today we are one of the leading games for cricket in the world. And mobile game is just the start for us. Soon we'll be getting into NFTs and blockchain gaming as well. And particularly with the way gaming has been evolving in the country with mass market adoption, I see a bright future. So all of you out there who are building games, I think is a phenomenal time to actually be a developer in India. Cool, short intro about me, and let me cover what all we actually will be uh, covering through in this. Yes, there is a lot for us to cover, but they all should be fairly easy for you to grab on. I'll try to keep it as simple as possible, but anytime you need more clarification, do make sure you post in the comments and I'll get back to you on that. So we'll be covering a bit on the brand story, app descriptions, store listing experiments, icons, feature graphics, preview video, screenshots, store listing experiments, all the things literally what you will go to a Play Store and see in a listing. For those of you who don't know what is a store listing page, essentially inside the Play Store, all of you know where your app, the entire description about the app and all shows up, where you actually tap on the install button, right? That is your store listing page. Now you will see the app icon, the feature graphic, the video, the screenshots, the description. All these are just there and we'll be covering all that. I'll tell you how big of an impact all these can make on the success of your app. And do take notes wherever, I'll anyway be sharing the presentation with all of you at the end of the session. So first and foremost, what is a brand, right? Now, again, this is coming from a technology background. This is one aspect that we all tend to neglect a lot. Now, one thing, if any of you have been to B school, you will know that brand is all that matters. We talk about Apple, we talk about Ferrari, we talk about Harley Davidson. We're not talking about the product, we're talking about the entire brand, right? First, you think about Apple, then you think about what they make. They make computers, they make phones, they make watches, AirPods, etc. Right? The brand is the most powerful thing that draws the user to a product. Now, as technologists, we tend to think bottom up, build the product, and then we think about the users, we think about the brand, etc. It's a natural part of the cycle. But anybody with a B school background will do a top-down thing where you build the brand and then you think about the services and then you think about the exact product. There's no right way or wrong way, but it just depends upon where you start from and knowing what you need to do next. So brand building is a super important exercise, and particularly when it comes to, say, gaming, you all know, everybody would have heard of Supercell, right? Next time Supercell releases a game, people are just jumping onto it. Okay, yeah, this is the game I want to play. PUBG launched a new game. Millions and millions of users signed up on the very first day. That is the power of the brand. Building a great brand should be an aspiration for all of us. That is the end game. So what constitutes a brand? Right? Your brand consists of various components. It's not just a name, it's your name of the app, the developer name, the app icon, the short, long description, the screenshots, the video, the feature graphics. All these things that you see, that a user sees on your store listing page, becomes your identity to the world. Anybody types in the URL or navigates to this page, this is all the information that they see. And all these, how they interact with each other, defines how people are going to perceive your product and whether they will take the all important step of clicking that install button and downloading your app, right? So keep a note of all of these things. I suggest you make it as a checklist. And for those of you who've already published an app, just take a complete deconstruction of what you've already done and see if all these things have been given sufficient attention by you and your team. So the most important thing about your brand are, like what we spoke about, were the various avenues in which you can portray your brand. But what exactly is your brand, right? A brand is what you make a user feel. For example, like when you think about Apple, right? What does it make you feel? Makes you think, okay, it's a premium product. It's like out of the world design, something fantastic, something you're proud of, something even like a bit of that flexing, right? Hey, I bought an iPhone, right? It's something cool, something you want to tell people about it, right? And when I remember when the iPod was first launched, they had something very cool. They had these white colored headphones, earphones, right? Up until that point, every single portable music player used to have black colored earphones. iPod was the first product that had white colored earphones. And what it did was when people used to use that product, you could see the earphones. People don't see the device because that's inside their pocket, but everybody could see those earphones and the wiring, right? And the moment it's white, everybody knew that it was the iPod. You're using the iPod, and that created virality and that created that cult following. I'm an iPod user, you're an iPod user. Today now it's like I'm a Mac user, you're a Mac user, right? So it becomes that is the power of the brand, right? And when you're thinking about your audience, you got to think, what does your brand give for your audience? How do you want to make them feel, right? And for that, you need to first and foremost identify who are your target audience, right? For example, let's take an example of a fitness app. Who are your target audience? It will be people who are young, who want to stay fit, who want to bulk up, right? Who wants to stay fit throughout, maybe have a bit of a lean figure, etc. Or it can be people who are slightly overweight who want to lose weight, right? They're also your target audience. Now, how you construct your product, right? The lines that you use and the colors that you use will depend phenomenally on the audience you are targeting. If you're targeting an older audience, you need to use certain colors. If you're targeting an app that's targeting kids, you need to use different colors, different palette, different text, etc. Think of it this way. Every one of us has grown up watching cartoons, right? Tom and Jerry, Mickey Mouse, whatever it is, it's universal fact, right? But today, can you watch them? Watch them for a long time? No, you can't, right? Because our tastes have evolved, we've grown up, we are now used to seeing different things, we perceive different things in a different way. We think, okay, cartoony is not probably the kind of thing that will resonate with me, particularly if you're, say, a banking app, right? Now, if you're a banking app, you don't want to put cartoony stuff. You want to put something that looks rich and sophisticated so that you build trust in the brand, right? So you got to first understand what your product is. Are you a fitness app? Are you an entertainment app? Are you a fintech app? Are you gaming app, etc.? And then figure out how you're going to build your story around it, right? And most important thing is the text, the colors, and how the story flows inside your store listing page is what you need to pay attention to. So first and foremost are your app listing descriptions. Now descriptions are what a user sees as soon as they enter the app. They'll see the app icon, the title, and all below that is like these catch lines. What does the app actually do, right? Now, there are two parts inside description. There is a short description that you see even as soon as you open it, it's displayed by default. And then there is a long description, which is visible only if you click on read more. Now, both of them, although they're both descriptions, they function in a very, very different way. The short description, because it is available by default and because it's only like 1 or 2 sentences, you have to be to the point about what your app does. Are you a fitness app? Are you a banking app? Or are you a strategy game? Right? If you're a fitness app, you say phenomenal fitness product, which will help you lose weight and help you track your progress as you lose weight. Right? That needs to be your short description. In your long description, you can have far more details about the various features the app has. Like, do you have a calendar? Do you have a predefined weight loss programs already built into your app? So on and so forth. Can you compare with your friends? Is there a leaderboard and all that jazz? Right? All that goes into a long description, but your short description must be optimized to be catchy and very clear as to what the app does. Because keep in mind, although the battle is always about getting new installs, one of the worst things that can happen to you is get users who are not appropriate for your app. For example, if somebody is looking for, say, a banking app, right? If he ends up downloading an app which is based on, say, fantasy gaming, he's not going to stick around. He'll download your app and realize his mistake and uninstall it in 5 minutes, right? That is a bad user. And it will only hurt your uninstall, it will only increase your uninstall rate, and you'll be wondering what is going on. And the worst part is the guys who are actually might be looking for your app say, they may think they may be misled by your short description and say, okay, this is probably not the app for me. I'll go look for something else. So it's super important that you get your messaging right about what your app does. So your short description is going to be just 2 lines, and it's displayed by default, and make sure it is as accurate as possible about what your app does. And my strong suggestion to you is once you write the short description, bounce it off 10 people and see what they think about it, right? Because when we are creating something, we always feel that it is perfect. It's the best thing possible. It's the most clearest form of communication. But only when other people who are not connected, maybe they don't know your product, bounce it off them, make them read it, and ask them to tell you what they think about it. Is it what you want them to think? Is this communicating a fitness app? And is it telling you what kind of a fitness app it is very clearly, right? Based on that, you keep on iterating. Usually, I would suggest you make 10 different short description options, right? 10 of them, just write of them, just brute force, bucket list of 10 of them, and then bounce it off people and see what they think about it, and then zero in on things that really works. Long description is a lot bigger. It has space for about 4,000 characters, so that's plenty of white canvas for you, right? And where you can put all the cool things that your app has. If it has won some awards, things which can help build trust in the eyes of a user, or what are all your past accomplishments, etc. Everything you can put inside that. So now, what makes a good description? Now, this is a question I have for all of you. Now, this is something that think back to the time where you actually went ahead and downloaded an app that you've not heard of before, right? Now, I know that a lot of times when people go and download an app, it's because you've heard of the app either from friends or family, or you saw some advertisement on TV or internet or hoardings or whatever. But think of a time when you just found an app, maybe it was recommended to you while you were browsing through Play Store or something like that. You just read some description and like, okay, yeah, this is an app that I want, right? Does anybody come across an app that was completely new, they've never heard of before, and they ended up downloading it, say, in the last 1 week? Did you come across an app like that? Do post that in the chat, please. Give you 2 minutes. Any app that you downloaded for the first time in the last week or so that you hadn't even heard about before? Step, set, go. Awesome.
I see a
Tasmania.
lot of people saying step set go higher Filmora, I guess. Okay.
Pinterest.
Brave, Pinterest, Google Crowdsource, Music Wallet, PDF Maker. The Pattern, Notion, a lot of apps there. You can see.
Awesome. Now, what I suggest is go to that app description page of these products and see what they have written. So one of the coolest thing that has happened with Play Store and App Store and all these things is that how much of competitor research that you can actually do, right? We tend to do action. We are all we are all downloading apps. We are all users at the end of the day of some app or the other, right? We must spend time to deconstruct, particularly the popular apps. Spend time deconstructing. How have they written their description? Is it clear what they are writing, right? Is it fun? Is it quirky? Did it get me to actually take action, right? It's a very, very important tool that you have at your disposal. Just browse around and you will get so many great references that will help you write better descriptions. So theoretically, let me cover a couple of points that you should keep in mind while writing good descriptions, right? Try to address people who are most likely to be interested in your app or game. Again, people are interested in fitness. Make sure that the app is clearly communicating that it's got something to do with fitness, right? Do not mislead them into thinking it's something related to, like, organizing a sports events or something like that, because that just leads you to plenty of bad quality installs. Talk about all the things that rewards a user can earn inside the app, depending on the kind of app you are, whether you're a game or some other loyalty program or something like that. Mention all your core features, mention the unique benefits about your app or a game. Now, this is particularly important because the app stores of today are super duper crowded. Hundreds of apps or even thousands of apps are being released every single day, right? There must be something unique. And in most cases, people have already tried an app that is similar to what you have built. For sure, most likely that's going to be the case. So that's why your unique selling point should be mentioned as clearly as possible and mentioned as high up as possible. For example, for a delivery app, it could be like a 10-minute delivery, right? Everybody is delivering in like 20 minutes, but your app is delivering it in 10 minutes. Or your game is something very unique in terms of how the characters are, how the gameplay is, right? Mention that and mention that as high up in your description as possible. And keep it as simple and concise as possible, right? We have a tendency as creators and developers to say how much our product actually has. Think of it as a resume, right? Now, everybody, given a choice, they would want to write 5 pages per resume. It's natural that we feel that, okay, we've accomplished so many things. I want to write about everything, right? But the fact of the matter is, when a recruiter, when they're looking at the resume, they're not going to spend more than 30 seconds on a resume, right? Which means that everything that is important and worth knowing should be present in just concise to just one page. And people actually say even your top 25% of your page is all that matters. Beyond that, most people don't go, right? Now, that is a very similar sort of a scenario, even with your store listing. Most people are not going to read your long description and go through it one by one. So no matter how much we put in, it may actually work against you, because sometimes people think, okay, there is so much to read. Okay, this seems too daunting. I won't read anything at all. I'll either install or I won't, right? If there is really something that you want somebody to read, which you think is super unique or something, make sure it's put right up front, right? And it's highlighted in a proper way with plenty of negative space and things like that, so that you're at least guaranteed or sure that yes, the user is going to read this, right? That's what you need to do. Don't do too much of this repeating the same line again and again. Don't do too much of keyword stuffing. I know there's plenty of ASO material out there that's talking about keywords and all, but be a little careful about how much of stuffing you do, because when a user reads it and sees, okay, this is just keyword by keyword stuff is there, they'll think, okay, there's some kind of a shady end. So do keep that in mind. It's an art to balance between ASO and writing great descriptions. And if the options available to you, do seek help of somebody who is great at writing. It can be some friend or somebody you know who can write well. tell them that, yeah, this is my app description. What can you suggest that I tweak over here? Or can I rework a couple of sentences? Can you rework a couple of sentences for me? That's something that you guys can do. And the last thing is, how do you localize? You must localize if you can, because localization really, really helps, right? If you're building an app that's, say, delivering stuff only in Bombay or something like that, talk about it. Say we have the best delivery network in Mumbai, come download our app, right? Because the moment you mention these things right up front, and if a user actually comes from Mumbai, it's going to resonate very, very strongly than an app that's generically talking, okay, we are covering whole of India, right? For sure. I mean, I've seen that happen when we tried it ourselves, and you guys should definitely keep that in mind when you're writing your descriptions. And what are the potential pitfalls? So this again, a very common mistake that people make is doing a lot of keyword stuffing, where it just feels like terrible for a human to read, right? We try to do our best in order to optimize for an algorithm, and we forget the fact that the person who is actually going to install is a human being. And if he thinks that what he's reading sounds ridiculous, he's not going to download, right? It's going to become literally negative. So you might get more traffic because of ASO, but your visit to install rate may start taking a beating, right? So do be wary of that. And there are a lot of policy violations that can be triggered by the descriptions you write. There is a complete list of these things that is available inside the Play Store policy document. And I strongly suggest all of you just read it at least once, because it covers all these attributes which might lead to penalties from Google side. It can either be like your algorithm stops indexing you, or it can even be something worse that people say, okay, no, you are delisting your app or something like that. So do be careful about things like this. Don't write enough unattributed testimonials. That is like, random say, the most fantastic game in the world. And there's no written, okay, who has actually written that, right? Or worse, don't just write some celebrity's name whom you can't authenticate, and whatever, you will get into trouble with copyrights and intellectual property infringements, right? And avoid trying to compare your app with others directly, right? It's just not a good practice. And the algorithm may actually see that, okay, you may trying to be deceiving users or trying to latch on to somebody else's success. That may also lead to penalties. And one of the most important things is inappropriate content. Be particularly careful about something like this, because these are the kind of things that can lead to an outright ban as well, right? So make sure just keep it clean, and try to attract the audience. Try to write a description which will appeal to you as a user. Imagine if what you have written is not by you or for your app, and you are a random user who is reading this. How do you feel? Do you feel that this app is genuine and they're trying to do something great? Or does it feel very shady or very cryptic and built for an algorithm, right? That's a good green light check that you can do at your end to make sure, okay, yeah, things are nice and smooth over here, right? And yes, definitely don't overdo on the emojis, don't overdo on the caps. It just makes things very difficult to read and makes everything look very amateurish. Yes, all these may seem like a lot of rules, a lot of things to keep in mind, but these are more like the negative list, and I'm sure most of you are not going to run into these things. And the best way to ensure you're writing better descriptions is check out 5 to 10 store listings of your competitors who are actually successful. Keep that in mind. Find competitors who are actually successful, or people who are in your space or adjacent space. Look how they have written their store listing descriptions, and try to learn from those things, right? Don't try to solve the problem immediately. Don't try to write your description immediately. First, just do your research, right? Think of all the things they have done, and then have a brainstorming meeting with your team and say, hey, these guys have done it this way. These guys have done it this way. This is a cool idea. This really appealed to me. Maybe we should also do something similar to that. Things of that sort, right? Proper comparative analysis. So one way of approaching long description is to write down your app's audience, key benefits, features, and etc. Just jot them down as a list, right? And identify the keywords, phrases, and content that describes your app and also great for keywords. Right? People may be looking for certain particular things. For example, a weight loss program, right? Those things need to be highlighted in your description, not just in terms of how high they should be placed in your description, but also at what frequency and how we are clearly mentioning these things. Maybe there's a hyphenated word, non-hyphenated word, whatever it is. Just make sure you're covering those important parts multiple times. And may keep iterating your description a lot, right? When you make your first draft, do not never be content. Almost never will your first draft be good enough. Definitely write at least 3 or 4 drafts, just keeping these 4 steps in mind repeatedly, and you will see that iteratively you're making better and better progress as you're writing. Again, if you have a friend or somebody you know who is good at writing, give them these keywords, give them these phrases, and ask them to take a shot at it and see what they come up with. It really helps. So let me walk you through an example. Now, if you can see the example over here, so this is the description of a productive app, productivity app. And as you can see, there's a lot of text, right? On a first glance, you would think that particularly on a mobile device, people don't like to read a lot of stuff, right? And imagine trying to read all this on a mobile device. Right? Think of how it would feel as massive paragraphs. Here in a presentation itself is taking the entire slide. Imagine reading it on a mobile device where each line is now going into like 4 or 5 lines it's broken down into. Very difficult to read. You can be assured that most likely people are not even going to bother reading all this. They'll just look at it, okay, chalo, all this is there, fine. Either I install or I don't install. But the problem is, end of the day, you stand to lose, right? If a user doesn't read something interesting that you put in, all your effort goes wasted, right? So here's what we can do to deconstruct this description. Now, going back to those 4 questions that we wanted you to ask yourself. Who is the app's primary user? What are the special features of this app? What do your existing users engage with the most? Because for every set of users who engage with your app in a certain way, there could be 100 others who will exhibit a similar pattern. Right? So that's a very important thing to keep it in mind to attract newer audiences. And lastly, what are the benefits of using your app? And what is the key customer benefit that you're giving to a user? Right? Always remember, it's not about the product. It is never about the product or the game that you built. It's always about what pain point you are solving to the user. Because the user is coming because he has a pain point or he wants to explore something, etc. He's not coming, okay, chalo, he's doing you a favor to just come and download an app randomly. It simply doesn't happen. That's not an behavior that even you exhibit, right? So think about who is your app's primary user. Are they students? Are they professionals? Are they like homemakers? Or are they people who are construction workers or drivers or whatever it is? Think about that. Try to write. Don't keep it very generic that I'm building the app for everybody. Yes, everybody wants an app to be used by everybody, but more often than not, that's not going to happen. And you cannot tailor. A good way of putting it is if you target everybody, you'll attract nobody. So try to narrow down on who will be the most likely user of your game. For example, since our app is a cricket game, what we know is that people of age 20 to 30 are most likely to play our game, and it is very likely to be a male audience, right? So whatever we do, we try to tailor our description, the assets, etc., keeping this in mind. So you're talking about a 20 to 30-year-old male audience like a sports game, right? So the kind of preferences that they would have, like, they want sporty stuff, right? They want to compete. They want to climb up the leaderboard. They want to play with their friends. All these things need to come out very, very strongly in how we are talking about that. Now, when we write down these answers to these questions, just jot them down. Don't think about anything else. These are four very clear-cut questions. You'll have an answers to all of them. I am dead sure. Now, once you are done writing the answers for these questions, circle the key points over here, which are the most punchy of them, right? For example, get more things done. Yes, that sounds great. Everybody would want to do that, right? Juggling multiple tasks. Yes, that's great for productivity, right? Customizable, timer and tracking, encouraging reminders, boost focus, get tasks done, be more productive. These are all key customer benefits that really stand out, right? Now you've identified with all your text answers that you've written that these are the keywords that actually matter to you, right? Use that insight and then try to craft a description, right? See now how the description has been reworked so simply. Boost your focus and accomplish more with productivity journeys, tried and true timer method. Clear. Key customer benefit here. Boost your focus. Accomplish more. How? By using our timer method. Tried and true. It builds trust. It tells you that the app is already live, it's already successful, people already like it. It builds trust, right? Nobody wants to download an app to be an experimental user. Most of the people want to only go with the safer option, which is already successful, right? There are very few percentage of users who are likely to just want to try something new very randomly, right? So this one line gives you credibility. It tells you what the app does, right? It tells you how it does it, and it tells you why it's a good choice for you to download and give it a shot. Just one line. So you as a developer can be confident that even if the user doesn't read beyond this point, which will be true in at least 60-70% of the time, right? People just don't read beyond the first line. You've still communicated something important. Did someone have any question here?
Especially, yeah, there are a few questions, but I thought like we can just take all of them in there. So like also like if anyone have a question, we have a separate Q&A tab here. So you can just post your questions. We can just take them in there, all of them in there. That's what I was thinking.
All right, cool. I'll cover the session about descriptions and I'll answer a few questions here. And then each section may we can probably answer a few questions. That way it'll be a bit of a breakpoint.
Sure. That works as well. Should I pull up some questions for you?
Let me just cover these this slide and then we could start.
Yep. Thanks.
So this one sentence gives a clear communication about what the app is doing, right? And below that, they go down further into actually breaking down what the app has to offer specifically, all the app features. Now, this is particularly important for people who may have already tried a similar product, right? That's another set of users. So they're already using a certain app uh, to accomplish the exact same thing, but maybe they're not satisfied with it. That's the reason why they're exploring the market for more of such products, right? So here is where you should talk about all the features that your app has, which makes it stand out from the competition. The most important features that you have, put them on top. Most important and unique ones go on top. The ones who are more mundane, chalo, every app has it. This is a bit of a judgment call you need to take. They go lower down the pecking order, right? And always remember the user and the customer is the king. Whatever priority order we pick should be based on the user needs and what we think is cool. Or sometimes we tend to think that, okay, this one was very complicated to develop, so it should be placed on top. Absolutely not. Right? Some of the apps can be some of your features could be the most easiest things to develop or create, but could be the ones which are most useful to a user, right? So think about the user and then based on that, make your priority order. And here you have a great example of a wonderful app, a store listing page from Brawl Stars by Supercell. If you read the first line, fast-paced, 3v3 multiplayer battle royale for mobile play with friends or solo, providing you variety of game modes. In one single sentence, so much has been communicated, which is cool. Right? They're talking about fast-paced. Supercell knows that the genre of users that plays battle royale games want fast-paced action. 3v3, it communicates social. It's a battle royale game. They want to attract other battle royale players. They talk about mobile play. Now, one of the key differentiators and USPs of Brawl Stars is that it is so easy to play on mobile. A lot of these battle royale games are PC first, and then they have an app for that. But Brawl Stars has done this unique thing about being mobile first, which makes it super easy to play. So think about it. So all the users who struggle to play battle royale games on mobile are suddenly thinking, hey, there is something, a battle royale game that seems much easier to play on mobile. Let me give it a shot, right? And then they talk about friends and they say, okay, yeah, you can play with friends or you can play solo. They don't want you to think that if I don't have friends playing this game, I can't play this game, right? Very important, right? Give users, let them know clearly that both options are available so that you don't lose out on potential customers. Talk about variety of game modes. The guy is already interested in Battle Royale. What if there are more game modes? Great for him to explore. He may download the app just to explore what those things are. This is what I call a brilliantly crafted first sentence, right? Now, even if you don't even read the rest of it, this is enough to tell you what Brawl Stars is and what it offers to you and why you should download it as crisply and concisely as you can possibly put it. Phenomenal work, right? Read, I strongly suggest, recommend all of you to read the first line in particular of the successful games in the world, successful apps in the world, and learn from it. Tremendous amount of learning from these things. Good. Let's answer a couple of questions, Gaurav.
Yep. I will just take a few. So it's like we have a dedicated Q&A there. So Daksh was asking like what's genetic call to action? Like I'm not sure like what exactly does he mean there.
So something like say a download now is very generic.
Yep. I think yep.
Right? And you could spice it up by saying that start battling now.
So Chinmay was asking, I created my apps but not published. Can you help me how to publish? But Chinmay, like I guess we have a separate video and like this session is not specifically for this. So yep. I have a question that is when an app is published on Play Store, how it will be more attractive to the user without public relation. So one question is this one.
Can you repeat that?
So Might Guy is asking like when an app is published on a Play Store, how it will be more attractive to the user without the public relation.
Without the public relationship.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of a tricky question, I would say.
Okay. So I guess, see, the user, see, one great thing about apps or games or something like that is people like to try stuff, right? It's the nature of how it works. It's so easy to download an app and it's also easy to uninstall, but which also means that people are willing to try stuff, right? So even if you're not a known brand or something like that, if people do come to your page, that means they've expressed some interest of doing something new, right? And then the battle is completely on you, how your graphics look, how your description looks to impress the user. For example, if you're looking at these graphics right now they can always be users who've never heard of Supercell or Brawl Stars, right? But when you look at this graphic right now, you can make out the level of quality that is actually there. And that is instantly appealing, right? And that is your foot in the door. So spend a lot of time iterating and getting your creatives right. And that is how you attract more customers, and you build up a brand. Keep in mind, everybody started from zero, right? Even Supercell started from zero.
Yep, exactly true. So just to clear, like what he meant with the public relation was a publicity that, like a kind of advertisement that usually an app developers do it up. But I guess like you were on the point of that only. So yeah, I guess like that question is solved up. We'll take a few more questions, then we can just jump on since like we have a already have a Q&A session in the end there. So
And
one
just
question,
a
sorry.
quick note, I think Harsh has mentioned something nice. Like sometimes the ads looks fancy in the gameplay trailer, but it sucks in real life. Right? Now, yeah, do keep in be wary of scenarios like that. If you spend all your time just optimizing this part, what happens is people will download the app, fair enough, but they'll uninstall it within 5 minutes, right? And that doesn't
Yeah.
help you, right? So try to find a good balance.
Yep. So one question that Harikeet asked was like, how important is it to have a unique promo or an introductory trailer for the app to be published on an app store? So I guess like this will be covered up in the next half, Harikeet. We can just do it up. So just stick with it. You will get this covered up. One question, just the last one that I will be just taking up. That is Suryakant asking up how many apps anyone can publish within a single pay console payment. I mean, I don't have any clue to it, but like Kashyap, if you have, you can just take now.
I don't think there's any limit to it, or at least I'm dead sure it's more than 20, 30 or something like that. It should never be a limitation for you.
Yep. Okay. Like rest of it, like are not related to the description one. We can just take it in the end, like or like we can just have all of it there. What do you
Great.
say?
Yeah, makes sense. Anyway, a lot of topics yet to be covered. Maybe all of them will actually get covered in the presentation itself. If they are not covered, then we can always get back to them.
Sure.
Okay, awesome. Yes, get moving.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I guess like I can just share the link right now. So that is the unique link that you all have to just do it up. I have shared the link in the chat. Everyone see like if you are able to log in. So also like we will just be here at we all are here. So just make sure you just complete it on time and just complete the pre-survey as well. And once you are done, you can just let us know in the chat, or we can just have a poll as well. Kafil, do you have a poll for it? Or we can just create one. I guess Kafil is not here. Okay. Anyways, for people, you can just go to that link and just complete the surveys in the steps there. Just fill up the description there, and also we can have a poll till the time we are ready there. So I'm just muting up now. I can just have a small sorry. Okay. I can just share my screen. There is a, like just a small music that will just tune you up, uh, and then once you're back, we can just start off.
sure, sounds good. Give everyone 10 minutes to just write up a description.
I see a common question that is being asked, like already filled up on 24th November. So, okay, that's fine. Like you can just skip that part. You can just continue the next parts. Just complete the session content one that is saying like study jam exercise, draft your description for your app or game. You just need to complete that content for now and just leave the communication key features one. We will have that covered in like we'll give you uh, more time for that. um, you don't need like you have to fill a pre survey and also the study jam one exercise that is a session content as well. Let me just share my screen to just let you know like what all you need to do. Sharing this tab. um, okay, so you need to fill all these like till this one. Like you can just leave this part for now. That will be complete. Like we will give you more time for this one. Just complete the first three, first, second, and third. That is the third one is the draft or description. That till that part you have to complete. I guess that makes sense. Also, like if anyone has done all the three activities, they can just head over to the poll and click on yes. You don't need to fill up no there, so that's fine. All right. Um, how many of you have done it up? You can just put yes in the poll that we have. It's live on. If you can see. Hey Sally, you raised your hand. You want to ask something? Okay. Yeah, that's fine. For the people who have already submitted the pre-survey, that's fine. You don't need to worry about it. So, like if it is already done, we already have your entry in your database there. Also, just make sure like you complete the first three activities. Include that includes pre-survey. I guess like there is another one that is a draft your description. There is one more there. So like first three you have to complete. The fourth and the post survey you can just leave it for now. We will give you ample of time for that. Hey Kashyap, you are there. I think we can start off.
Okay, just a second.
Yep, I can just stop sharing my screen. Till the time you're just sharing the screen. Suryakant is asking, we need to fill up the session content. Like, I'm not sure, like Suryakant, like what do you mean by session content? If you can elaborate a bit more.
Can you see my screen?
Yep, your screen is visible.
Okay, good to go.
Yep, I guess you're good to go. There are a few people who are asking for the link again. I've shared it up in the chat. Suryakant is asking like, uh, do we need to fill up this for session content? He means the study jam exercise. Yep, Suryakant, you have to do the study jam exercise there. Yeah, that wrapped your description on. Yes, I guess like we can just start. People can just do it up there. We have given them 10 minutes there.
Got it. So awesome. I think having this session of writing down description for your app, this will be a very insightful way for you to rethink in some cases about what your app is actually doing. Things like identifying your core customers and their key benefit you provide, etc. is not just a great exercise for your store listing, but also for the way you revisualize your product itself. Now, when it comes to description, you'll realize that there is no right answer and there is nobody in the world who can actually tell you what is better, what will actually lead to more installs, right? It's just there is simply no clear cut way. And that's why the great thing is that on the Play Store, you can actually do an experiment with it to see which description is doing better, your old one or the one that you've just written. And the great way is you can run an experiment where 50% of your audience goes to your older description, another 50% sees your newer description, and then Google gives you data on which one is converting better. That is leading to more users to install your app. Right? And your store listing experiment is an absolutely phenomenal way of actually iterating because, as I said, there is really no right answer to this. It's just text. End of the day, you can never truly understand what a user is thinking. But what is in your hands is to keep relentlessly running store listing experiments. Run an experiment with a description, run it for about a week or so, and then see how it's performing. If it's performing, great, apply that. And then next week, write another description and again run an experiment to see how it's doing. Right? Never stop experimenting. This is the single most important strategy that I've seen it work. But keep on running experiments because it can always keep improving. The numbers can always improve, and there is a very, very high value of improving your store visit to and install conversion rate, right? So some of the best practices are test one thing at a time. Like if you're changing, say, the short description, only change the short description, do not change your long description, and test for at least for a week so that you have enough of a sample size and a bit of this bias about the type of day and all are also eliminated. And if you do get a success in your experiment where Google recommends that the new one is doing better, what you do is whatever one, right, run another experiment where that one is the original and your older description is the new one. And again, run an experiment to see if the data actually holds true, right? And see if it's still holding true. If it is, then great, you have a winner. Yes, and the most important thing, just keep testing relentlessly. You'll notice that no matter how big a company it is or whatever, they still keep changing their description often. Every couple of weeks, you'll notice that they've changed their description. And the main reason is, yes, everybody is experimenting in this world. Cool. Another thing you can actually do is utilize the translation and localization features that are now available on Play Store, right? Like a lot of us are building for a global audience, and even for that matter, even if you're targeting inside India only, India may itself, there are like so many languages that are around, and if you're able to localize towards them, which is particularly true for hyperlocal apps, it can lead to a tremendous amount of benefit. Now, there are a couple of options that the Play Store provides. One is that you are adding your own translations, as if there's somebody, say, inside your own team who can write your app description in Hindi or Tamil or Telugu, and then you can update it yourself. Second is you can purchase somebody to translate it for you via the Play Store itself. I think there's a link that's available to do that. Or the third way is allow Google Translate to auto-translate your text into that local language. Here, this is the last case scenario. Yes, and as you know that sometimes Google Translate do go a little haywire. So my recommendation here is even after you do your translation, try to run the description by a friend or somebody you know who knows that language and see if there's something not very weird happening out of this, right? And by that you can able to get a lot more translations for your apps, be much more localized, and can actually make you stand out among your competition as well. Cool. Moving on, next is a custom store listing. Now, a custom store listing is something that was released on the Play Store, one of the more recent features that they've released, by which you're able to target certain geographies with a certain listing, right? Now, you all know that when somebody visits from India, they're looking at the app in a certain way. If somebody is visiting from US, they may be looking for the app for certain different things, right? You want to customize, for example, if a user is coming from India, maybe you want to put a content which is much more localized, right? We're talking about, say, a local festival, right? But if somebody is coming from US, you want to talk about Halloween instead, right? That's where the custom store listing allows you to do something like this, and you can utilize this to your advantage. Do explore this section of Play Store, and particularly if you are an app or a game that's targeting a global audience. So you can create up to 5 custom store listing for any given app, and whatever store listing you already have will serve as a default. That is, if there is any country without a custom store listing, this will show up as default. And for each custom store listing, you can change your title, the app icon, the description, and the graphic assets. So think about it this way. A custom store listing targeted in India could have an app icon that is customized for, say, a Diwali or a Dasara, while a custom store listing for US can be targeted at a Halloween or even the Super Bowl, right? And you can theme it that way to get much better results. And moving on, next is beyond the descriptions as well. You would have noticed that most of the people are very visual in their way they make decisions, right? When you look at a great app icon, it automatically gives you a great impression about the quality of the game itself, right? Some of you were asking, like, I'm not a well-known brand, like, how do I attract audience? Right? If you have a well-polished set of graphic assets, right, your app icon, your screenshots, your videos, they have a tremendous impact on building your brand, right? Everybody starts from zero. You build brand by improving the quality of what you are presenting, right? And the app icon by far has the most important impact on something like this. The app icon is the first thing that a user sees right from the listing in the list of things, that a list of apps. And from there, he taps on the app and then he comes to store listing. And even inside the store listing, it's in the app icon is on the top left, which makes it obvious that it will be the most important thing that the user will see and judge your app by. So various specifications for best practices in terms of the size, in terms of the resolution, etc. These are available on the playbook that's available inside the Play Console. Do run this by your art and design team. Here's the thing: show it to them even before they start work. Right? A lot of times I've seen that the art team makes an app icon, and then suddenly we realize, hey, we need to reformat it. It has to be a square, or it has to be of this size, etc. And suddenly that great looking asset suddenly doesn't look so great anymore, right? So there should be somebody in the team in your design team, who's very well versed with all these specifications. My suggestion is print out the specifications, like it must be this size, this file size, etc., this format, etc., and paste it where the design team is sitting. So they have an easy reference point, and they are able to get these things right on the first pass itself. So some of the great recommendation how you make a great app icon is the kind of colors that you use should be both appealing to your target audience and also resonate with the brand itself. For example, you would notice that a lot of these first-person shooter, the battle royale games, they tend to have a dark sort of a theme, right? Now, obviously, you're talking about series, you're talking about something where you're killing other people and all, right? So you're talking about slightly darker. Or if you're making a game that is more towards a younger audience, it's likely to be much more colorful and vibrant, and there'll be a lot more of smiley faces on the app icon. And right now, that is how you need to design the app, keeping your users in mind. Going back to your thing, never make an app icon just to make it look good. That is a bad thing to do, right? You must first ask yourself, just the way you did with the description, who are my users? What is my app? And how do I make an app icon that is addressing that thing? Do not let the creativity of your design team hijack what an app icon should look like. Always give them that brief. Yes, I want to attract these sort of users. So figure out colors that will appeal to them. Figure out a story, like should the app icon communicate an angry person who's about to kill the other guy, or should it be a very welcoming thing that you want? Right? Communicate all this to your design team so that they are able to make something that is appropriate for you. There is nothing called the perfect app icon. There's only the right app icon. It will vary from app to app. Again, a best way to get this right is look at the app icons of your successful competitors, create a mood board out of that, show it to your art team, design team for them to visualize what even your app icon should look like. Right? It really helps. Take my word for it. And there are a couple of other key going a little more deeper into what Google Play has to offer. There are also templates that are available from your Play Store help, where your art team can actually download an Illustrator or a Photoshop template and see how they should resize your app to fill up the space that is actually available. Now, again, going back to the phenomenal Brawl Stars example, look at their app icon. Right? Now, you are going to recognize this app icon for a really, really long time once you've seen it. It is super distinct, it's super clear, and this is what brand building is all about. They use that app icon even in their logo so that users are able to constantly recall what this means. The colors, the yellow, black, and white. They're consistent with usage of that, right? And this is what helps you build a brand from zero. Be consistent with what you're communicating, and users will slowly latch on to something like this. And some of the negative lists are things you should not do, like do not mislead people, do not do hacks like free to install, most popular, or things like that. These are the kind of things that can lead to the algorithm penalizing you or even a ban from the Play Store. So be super careful about things like this. Again, do show these things to your growth and design team so that they know that what they should definitely be avoiding, right? There's always a tendency to want to hack our way into a growth channel. Just know that what you should not do so that you don't run afoul of the terms and conditions. So similarly, now beyond the app icon, the feature graphic is the biggest graphical asset that you have on the store listing page, right? It's the one that goes right on top when a user visits a page, seeing a massive graphic, right? Now, this graphic needs to communicate the story of your app. What does it do? What does the gameplay look like? Right? This is an opportunity for you to showcase. This is shown particularly in ads. This is shown even more clearly than your screenshots. So it's a great opportunity for you to visually communicate what your app is doing. Right? If you have phenomenal gameplay where people are jumping around or something like that, communicate that. Right? A good reference, a good way of designing great feature graphics is to take inspiration from movie posters. Right? Try to recall all the cool movie posters that are around. Say the Marvel poster, where you have Thanos standing in the middle and you have the superheroes around. That's a great poster. Right? Take inspiration from things like that to create your feature graphic. Again, speak to your art team, design team, tell them what you want to communicate and ask them to hit that. A great feature graphic must tell a great brand story, and you must design for scale, as in like there are plenty of devices that people come onto your app, even inside phones, there are multiple resolutions. So make sure that it looks fine in all these kind of things. Again, make sure your design team has a printout of all the possible resolutions so that they at their end only uh, test it out how it's going to look. Be super visual. Don't try to write text inside your feature graphic. It just makes everything look messy and tacky. So communicate as much as possible visually. It is hard, but it pays off really well in terms of drawing the user's attention. So your brand again plays a massive role even inside your feature graphic. Be super consistent with the usage of colors and the tone, the emotion that your graphics are communicating, and make sure you're as clear as possible about what the game is about, right? Do not try to mislead people. It may lead to downloads, but it will only lead to uninstalls. So this is something that you must keep it in. So in the going a little more deeper into how the art should look like, keep as much focus towards the center as possible, because particularly on a mobile device, it's your center that's really going to stick out. And definitely test across different resolutions. There are always likely to be some content that gets cut off on the sides. Use vibrant colors. Yes, we live in a day and age where people want more vibrancy, right? There are very few use cases where you want dullness to seep in, right? So the more vibrant something is, the more likely it's going to lead to an install. So tell your design team that be vibrant, use fair bit of that neon, purples, and things like that, which will look really cool and draw attention. Yes. And common pitfalls are one of the things is, again, people have a tendency to put too much stuff. Just because there's a canvas doesn't mean that you put everything under everything that your game has to offer inside that. Do not do that. It looks very tacky. It looks like some kind of a newspaper advertisement, right? A newspaper advertisement is exactly what not to do inside your Play Store list, right? You cannot put everything inside there and expect a user to be attracted to this. People want minimalism. Put as little information as possible to draw the user's attention and to make that download happen. So quick question, here's a bit of a thing. Based on all that we discussed in terms of the app icon and feature graphic, so tell me, like here you have a gray colored feature graphic and then you have an app icon that's got a bit of purple and pink, etc. Now tell me what we can do in order to make this combination better. Would you update the app icon to match the gray tone of feature graphic? Or would you replace the gray background? Or would you add a tagline to the feature graphic? Or would you add more detail into the feature graphic? These are all the options that are available to you. And these are all one of the likely paths that your design team is going to take. Now, what would you do in a scenario like this? Can we have a quick poll here? I know we are running short of time, but let's quickly give your opinion and walk through what's likely a best course of action here.
I see majority of people are opting for B, a few A and C, none D. No one is opted for a D. Majority is going for a B.
Well, that's awesome because B is the most likely a better option than anything else. Again, there is no certainty here. It's just like it is most likely the best option among all these things because you want vibrancy and you don't want too much detail. You want to be catchy as much as possible. Look at that feature. It looks so dull, right? That app icon looks so vibrant. As simple as that. It is not rocket science. End of the day, you are a user of many of these apps, and some of these things you just need to be a little, take a critical view, critique what designs are being put out there, and I'm sure it will lead to good results. Next is the app video itself, right? If you look at the hierarchy order, you're talking about the app icon, the feature graphic, and then next comes the video and the screenshot. Now, as you all may already know, when you upload an app video, that will be the first, that shows up first in your list of screenshots for every app, right? And one of the key thing to remember here is when that video is not playing, the thumbnail is what is shown over there. So in a lot of cases, the thumbnail serves as a pseudo first screenshot. So make sure that that is well designed, right? And another thing to keep in mind is not all users play a video. I don't have statistics on this, but at least from our experience, less than 20% of the store listing visitors play the video, right? So now what this means is they're just seeing the thumbnail and they're going to make a decision, right? So make sure it's well designed and don't focus just on the video and keep thinking. How many times have you yourself seen a video before you downloaded an app? Yes, it's possible in certain sort of scenarios you want to see the video. This is particularly more true for games than say apps, right? But do keep in mind, don't go completely just trying to make a phenomenal video and all and ignore something like the thumbnail. And also, as somebody was saying, that don't try to mislead users through via the video, right? Don't give them something that your app is not about, and people will only get disappointed due to mismatched expectations. Your video should ideally cover 80% of your video should be from your app itself, right? And so try to cover gameplay, try to cover the key parts which you think will be very interesting for a user to see. Don't cover the basic mundane stuff. Do not cover things like login and all that jazz. Nobody's coming to the app just because you have a great login. right? They want to see what this app does for you. Again, going back to your key value proposition to the customer. Make a video that is covering that key value that you're bringing to a user and build a video storyline based on that, right? Wherever you're getting it made from whoever it is, give them the storyboard yourself, right? Do not ask them to make it randomly. It's not a good idea. You as the creator are best placed to tell what your app is about and why it is so awesome. So you must give the storyline for that. And go for a landscape orientation wherever possible, and demonstrate the in-app experience and keep it as short as possible. Again, this is something that I've noticed a lot of people tend to put an app video that is 1 minute long. Now think about it. How many of us actually watch the video that long, right? People have a short attention span. More often than not, people are just tapping on a video just to check how is your quality, right? So don't try to communicate everything that your app has as a feature film or something like that. Put some really cool and well polished stuff right up front. User doesn't need to understand everything. Keep that in mind, right? They just need to be impressed by what they see. Just aim for that. First 10 seconds need to look really, really cool, right? Your best 10 seconds of your video should come right at the front, right? Plan that way, storyboard it that way, and then make magic happen. Now, some of the common pitfalls are people tend to do a lot of data dump inside video as well, right? There's always a tendency, hey, my app has this feature, that feature, this feature, that feature. Again, it's not a 5-page resume. People have a very short attention span. Keep only the most important stuff. And even inside that, keep the most super duper important stuff in the first 10 seconds. Assume that people will not watch beyond 10 seconds. Are you happy with that? And then construct your video. Now, lastly, it's the screenshots, right? These things are particularly important, as I said, because not everyone watches the video, maybe time constraint, bandwidth constraint, or whatever it is. But your screenshots have a great way of communicating the story because it's not a static image like a feature graphic. Think of screenshots as a story rather than an individual image. Now, what I mean by that is tell what your app does as a storyboard. For example, in our case, we're a cricket game which has strategy elements, which lets you upgrade your players and assemble the ultimate lineup, right? Now, if I were to write text, it just doesn't feel well. But I break it down into screenshots to start with, say, hey, a unique cricket game which is about strategy. The second screenshot is about how it is a great multiplayer experience. Third screenshot should be about how the game is about assembling the ultimate cricket team inside this universe, right? So think about what is the story that you want to communicate. Again, never start design work until the story is made. This is a very common pitfall because when you ask your design or art team to make screenshots, always give them a very, very clear brief. Do not let them design what looks good. That is a bad answer, right? Give them a story. What do you want users to know? Imagine if people are just sliding through, they're not reading the description or watching the video. They're just browsing through the screenshots, trying to understand what the app does. It's like an infographic, right? Approach screenshots like an infographic with more jazzy content, and that's how you build a story, right? Again, don't do a data dump of information. Keep it as short and concise as possible, as nice looking as possible, and as clear cut a storyline as you can come up with. And some of the common pitfall will be like, you have repetitive screenshots, you have promotional stuff like, say, if you have a new offer inside the game, do not put it in a screenshot. Your screenshots are meant for new users. Think about new user wants. A new user is not going to download your game just because there's a discount on your in-app purchases. No, absolutely not. They are coming to have a great experience. to just talk about that great experience. And research has also proven that beyond your third or fourth screenshot, people don't have a tendency to scroll, right? So your first 3 or 4 screenshots need to look the best. So invest a tremendous amount of time on polishing these things. And lastly, don't put time sensitive content. For example, if you're saying that you're making an awesome Diwali based content, right? Keep in mind, yes, do that. It does attract users, but make sure that screenshot is replaced as soon as that time period is over. Otherwise, things will end up looking stale. So we reach another break point where I want you all to think about what is the story that you want to communicate via screenshots inside your app. So assume that you have only 4 screenshots, right? And each screenshot has probably just one tagline. What do you want the user? What do you want to tell a user in this canvas?
Awesome. Um, for all the participants, please just head over to the link again. I can just share that in the chat again. Let me just do it up. And till that time, uh, what we can do is like we can just answer your questions if it is possible. And also like please just to complete the communication key feature. Right? See you all in 10 minutes. Also, like it's for the people who are saying thanks a lot, like it's not over yet. Like we have a few more things to cover up and wrap up. Just wait for a while.
Yeah, there's one last important section, and I'm sure you'll find it super interesting.
Uh, 2 minutes more, guys. Uh, we'll start in 2 minutes. I guess there are a lot of people who have completed the. Should we start, Kashyap?
Yep, let's go.
Okay, I can just stop sharing my screen.
Okay, so yeah, I hope it got you guys thinking how you should communicate your product better to your users. Take my word for it, doing this exercise really, really helps. And what my suggestion is, even after the session, when you go back to your team and you're thinking about what to do, do tell them about to ideate on their own individually and see what they come up with and compare it with what you've written. It's a very, very healthy exercise, and that's something that I recommend that all teams should do regularly, not just like a one-time exercise. So, what all have we covered? Like inside these screenshots and feature graphics, etc. A lot of these things you'll realize have very common theme to it. Don't put inappropriate content. Make sure your branding elements and your emotions are consistently communicated, and avoid generic stuff. Try to stand out as much as possible. That's one tip that I would want you guys to think about. What makes your app really stand out visually, right? Is there something quirky that you can do that you're like, wow, I've not seen something like this, right? So do keep iterating and experimenting for things like that. So coming to the last part of our presentation is the store listing experiments. Now, just like descriptions, it is super duper hard to understand what images work, right? Nobody has an answer to it. You will have to continuously iterate and experiment on something like this. The good thing is, again, PreSurvey has an avenue for you to run A/B tests, A/B/C tests as well, to check which uh, screenshot is giving you better results, right? And you will be surprised how often that some of these things are contradictory to what you thought, right? You'll think, oh, this screenshot looks so well designed. I'm sure people will like it and they'll download. But when you run an experiment, you realize, wow, that's not the case. People pick something that you thought was actually bad looking design, right? The thing is with design, it's very, very subjective. And this is where most of the mistakes are made. What seems like great design to you may not be like a great design to somebody else, right? What you think is an ideal way to get a user to download may not appeal to your own target audience, right? These are things that just keep happening time and again, even to the best of teams. So don't be disheartened by something like this. Get into the habit and culture of rigorously experimenting with screenshots. And the thing is that we spent so much time building apps, building, refining the UI and the artwork inside the game. that we miss out on something that is much easier and also gives you a far bigger value because it can help you get more hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of users on a daily basis. Right? So go to your Play Store console tab if you've not done it already. Check out the section about store listing experiments and start running a screenshot experiment as soon as you can. Right? And always keep having some experiment running. This is from my own personal experience that what this does is like it gets your team into that rigor of constantly experimenting and iterating. Don't worry about making everything looking great in an experiment. Anything. Yes, even moving, interchanging people inside a screenshot can have an impact. So focusing more on say if there's a screenshot of somebody using an app, right? Maybe make another screenshot where you're much more zoomed into that the phone that the person is using, and it might actually lead to better results. All these tiny things can have a significant impact, as you can see from this example. It's not like these screenshots are too different from each other. They're all got triangles in it, right? But just changing the background color, changing the foreground color, changing the alignment of these images can all lead to differences in results, right? I have personally seen experiments which have given 20% more users because of a simple change in design, right? It's amazing. And you will end up saving a lot in terms of user acquisition spend if your page is performing better. So last question that I have for all of you, have any of you run store listing experiments and did the results surprise you? Because we have run so many experiments and more often than not, we've been surprised by the results. Right now we do a mini game, like whenever we start an experiment, we do a mini game within the team to see who is backing which experiment to see who actually wins, right? And it's never a consensus on what is going to win, and always the results are more often than not surprised us. So that pretty much concludes my presentation, and I cannot harp enough the importance of your store listing experiment, right? I am a founder myself. I know how much of effort and love goes into building that product, right? It's your baby, right? We spend so much of time iterating on the product that we often neglect the final piece of the puzzle, that is your store listing page, right? Product is great, but users are not coming. There's nothing worse than that, right? So I encourage all of you to focus and spend a lot of time on something like this. It is a lot more to do with science than design, and that's very important to keep in mind, where your engineering skills, logical thinking can all play a big role in leading to better results. So definitely pay attention to it, and get your team also to understand the value of something like this, because it's going to lead to phenomenal benefit and lead to maybe even millions of users downloading your app due to what you have actually done via this.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you,
Cool.
Kashyap, for the session there. Also, like, please just don't leave. We have something for you there. So with me, I have Arendra and Vanchita. We are doing a small fun activity with you all to see, like, just test your knowledge and see like what all did you learn today. Arendra and Vanchita, are you there?
Yeah, hi Gaurav, hi Kashyap, hi everyone. So we would be beginning with a quiz. I guess Vanchita would be sharing her screen, and then we'll be beginning with the quiz. So for that, we'll be using Kahoot. Vanchita, please share the screen.